Hi, I'm Pete Hammond. Happy to moderate our chat here about House of Gucci. And boy, look who I've got here. First off, director and producer, and you know him from so many projects. This isn't even his only movie this year. Always busy and always right on top of it. Ridley Scott. Hi.
Hi.
And then two of this all-star cast here, both nominated for SAG Awards and exciting stuff. In fact, the whole cast is just tremendous here. But I want to introduce first off Jared Leto, who plays Paolo Gucci. Hello.
Grazie mille.
Yes, and you'll never recognize him. Who would think he's playing Paulo?
Yeah. He's transformed again.
Yeah.
And of course, as Patrizia, Lady Gaga. Hi.
Grazie, bello.
Well, congratulations on this movie's continuing success, especially in theaters, bringing back that elusive adult audience that seemed lost in the pandemic. This is the movie that came out and has proven that they will go if there's something they want to see. Gaga, let me ask you here, in getting this role, this is your second major feature film following A Star is Born. What is it about working with somebody like Ridley Scott here, and making a movie like this that you can really dig into this character?
Well, thank you so much for the question, Pete. I'll say that, I I wish everybody could meet Ridley and get to know him the way that I have. He's such a special person, and he has the energy of a real teacher and someone that's truly fluid in their craft. He's a magician and someone that treasures filmmaking. From the moment that I met him, I felt that he had something inside of him that was so different than anything I had witnessed before. He has an incredible precision about him in the way that he approaches his art, and also a way of empowering women and telling stories about women that is really fascinating to me. I had the honor of doing a story about a woman also with Bradley Cooper, but working with Ridley in particular, I found it more than I could have ever conceived of on my own, that he would be supportive of empowering me to tell the story of many women through one woman, meaning that Patrizia Gucci was not just a murderer. She was not marrying just for money. She wasn't killing for money, but rather that there was a real trauma and a real abuse that this woman underwent. And we talked a lot on set. We talked for weeks and weeks before filming. I got to know him as I was delving into the script, and I would just say that he's incredibly filled with love, but he's also very precise, and you better be on your game and you better be prepared when you show up, because I think of Ridley in a way. I was speaking about this earlier. I think of Ridley in a way as like a really great jazz musician, is someone that makes sure that you understand that you have to know the song exactly as it was written before you can improvise. So I did that every day on set, and being prepared for him was a real pleasure, because it really raises your professionalism as an actor, I think.
Yeah. What about for you, Jared, too? You've worked in so many movies with so many terrific directors and things. I talked to you right before you were going off to shoot this, and you were so excited about this, to work with Ridley Scott and to work with this cast.
I mean, look, I've had a love affair with Ridley Scott. He doesn't know this, but for many years, I've been watching his work since I was a kid. It taught me about everything. It taught me about filmmaking, about storytelling, about acting, about design, about elevating a genre, about craftsmanship. And it's really a part of my childhood. It's a part of my dreams of being an artist and actor. And, I owe him a great debt. Selfishly, I always wanted the opportunity to work with Ridley. And I met him at a film festival in Morocco in like 2003. And he doesn't remember this, I'm sure, but I walked up to him and I said, anytime you need an extra, You let me know. I am there. I don't care. I don't even need to see the part. Just give me a job. And I think in some ways, Paolo is just, it's an audition for another role in whatever film he's doing next. But he's the best. He's an actor's director. A lot of people think of Ridley as a visualist, and he's obviously a genius at that. But he really is an actor's director, and I absolutely adored it. I feel like I could retire, Pete. Honestly, I'm done. I'm good.
Oh, you certainly transformed it into Paulo. How was that makeup job? How many hours did you go through each day to do that?
Well, you know, on average, it was about 6 hours.
Wow.
To get ready. They did such an amazing job, and they got quicker and quicker at it. And it's incredible. We had this really small little team, and we kind of got together in a hotel room in Rome, and you know, Ridley just kind of took the cuffs off, and we just went to town and brought this character to life. But when I originally read the script, I fell in love with this guy, Paolo. I didn't know what he looked like. Something about his desire, you know, he's a dreamer. He wants to make something special and share it with the world. He's an artist that's really frustrated, not seen and heard by the people closest to him, his family. But, you know, I fell in love with his heart and his humor. And, you know, I've said this 1,000 times already, but when I first spoke to Ridley, I think they were a little surprised that I was, you know, asking about Paolo. And I told him, look, you know, if we do this, I'm going to go completely nuts. And he started laughing, as he is now. And he let the lunatics run the asylum. And I knew that, I heard that Lady Gaga was attached. And Lady Gaga, let's be honest, she doesn't have very much time. She's like the busiest person in the world. She's doing 100,000 things, all at a really super high level, right? So I thought, man, if she's leaned in on this, I want to be a part of whatever's happening here. And she's just, I just think the world of her. She's really one of the best in everything that she does. So, you know, excited to be just along for the ride here, to be honest.
Ridley, your wife actually has developed this for about 20 years. Is that right?
No, I think it's been 20 odd years. And because Janina's fluent in about 4 languages, we found a writer, many versions. And I believed in what she wanted to do, because that it's a marvelous parallel. The funny kind of, it's almost like a 15th century story of family internal betrayal and destruction. So I loved the substance behind it. Was more than just another kind of movie. My feeling was, the more I do, it has to be about something. And so filmmaking is such an enormous challenge, which is why we all do it. Believe me, we do it because we love it. That's the first thing. You've got to love it. And therefore, it has to be worth it at the end of the day. And so I became very selective of what I'm doing. But what I discovered way back when, because I had no inkling about how to talk to an actor, or didn't know really how to make a movie, because there was no film school and no acting classes or anything like that. So gradually, bit by bit, you learn your path and you learn your method. And what I discovered, my strength was, I've got very good intuition about casting. Every actor is a virtuoso of who they are. And I can adjust that virtuosity a little bit by saying up a bit, down a bit, left a bit, right a bit. But fundamentally, it's up to me to coax it out of them. It's a kind of a team freedom, which producers keep to be producing continuously now a good all-around great material that really works.
I have to say too, what I love about the SAG Awards is they have an ensemble category, a cast category. It's sort of their best picture. And this is nominated for that, the entire cast together, which is really great. Obviously, Gaga and Jared are both nominated individually too. It led the field at SAG. You know, the actors really saw something. I know we have a lot of actors watching this who want to know kind of what it was like to go in there. Let me start with you, Gaga, in developing this role. You never actually met, she's still alive, Patrizia. You didn't want to meet her, or what was that about?
There was part of me at one point that wanted to meet her, and then I did a lot of research about her. I watched so many interviews that she gave, most of which are post 1992, which was the year that Maurizio Gucci was murdered. And I started to realize that this woman had something maybe that even I could relate to, that she very much wanted to control the narrative of the press. And what I saw when I was watching her was that she was at one point a child, and she became a murderer because she went through years and years of trying to matter within the scope of her caste, first and foremost, where she was born, the family she grew up in, and then trying to make her way, navigate herself through power and privilege in a way where she was also always essentially coming up at zero. The Guccis were immensely powerful around her, and no matter how hard this woman tried, she could never be as shiny, she could never be as prestigious, she could never matter enough. To me, this character was something that I studied very, very intensely and deeply, and what I admire about her the most, I think, meaning I had to admire her to play her, was her strength. And it was her ability to keep going. And so you were asking me if I wanted to meet her, and what I would say is I think that I made the right choice in not meeting her, because it allowed me to allow the facts to speak to me and allow my own intuition as a woman to read her and to figure out what I would know to be the truth. And just to get back to what Ridley said about the way he is with his actors, I have to say it is so meaningful and so empowering as a woman on set to be treated this way by a director. And one of my favorite moments that happened out of spontaneity with Rid was one of the penultimate scenes of the film. Right before we shot, it's when I go back into my home with my daughter, and I come face to face with Paola Franchi, and I said, "Hey, Rid, what do you think if I gave her a hug instead of just seeing her face to face and just having this contentious face off?" And he said he was like, "Try it," and we did it. But it meant so much to me because I did so much research and because I allowed myself to speak through the character without the lens of her in real life. I feel together we were able to create a moment that only a woman could understand, that they both loved him.
If I can add to that, because Paula didn't know that was going to happen, the reaction from her when she kissed her, hugged her, was that's what I mean. You've got to keep it loose, and you've got to keep it, where it's never totally planned. I love to have it when there's a little bit of, as you refer to, a jazz musician can suddenly pop in irrationally with an instrument because he feels it. And I think when it's felt, it's felt if it's free.
Yeah, it's interesting. Jared, for you, so what level of research do you go in? How much did you do before you started?
I mean, it's a great question. And, I'm not really happy until I, have someone's DNA memorized. You know what I mean? I really want to, I want to know what their breath smells like. You know what I'm saying? If I make a decision to play a part, it means I'm doing it because I'm really fascinated by it, And I was certainly fascinated here. There was so much I didn't know about and so much I had to learn in a short amount of time, not just about Paolo, but the Guccis and that time period and the music and culture and the style, the fashion, but when you're bringing a real life to the screen, number one, there's an obligation that you have to do the work and to bring an impression that's as accurate as possible. That also serves the script and the story and the point of view that you're taking. I started at the beginning, and I spoke to anybody that would speak to me, family and friends. And I did as much research as I could. And there was very little of Paolo out there. There were just maybe a couple dozen photographs and about a minute long clip of him speaking in an interview. But the clip was fantastic because in that clip, you heard a register of a voice, you heard a dialect, you heard a cheeky sense of humor. He had this impish, mischievous quality about him. You could see it in his eyes, in that playfulness. And he also was deeply wounded. So I got a sense of his heart and his humor, and really built upon that. And one thing that was really a beautiful thing, I don't know, I talked about this maybe once before, but it was actually quite a beautiful experience. We were in COVID and lockdown over there, and the streets were rather empty. It was quite haunting. But one day I snuck out with a car and we drove out to Paolo's grave.
Wow.
Yeah, I never told you that before. And you know, it was wild to see the Gucci, you know, what are they called? The crypts, right?
Yeah.
And
The mausoleum.
yeah, the mausoleum. And you know, to see that name there and to see that because they're all above ground, they're these open kind of spaces, beautifully made and well kept. And it was quite a lovely, like a gorgeous location near the ocean. And just to see that name engraved there and to know that that's where he was, where his body was, really was, it's quite an emotional and you know, meaningful experience, and a great motivator as well. But like I said before, this was the opportunity of a lifetime for me. I'm just like, you know, shattered with humility and gratitude that I get a chance to work with these two. And in this way, to be asked to tackle a significant problem, you know, a big, challenging, transformative role that honestly could have been the worst thing that I've ever done. It was a big swing, and you know, it's because of Ridley's guidance and the bar that he sets. You know, I think we probably all feel like we were able to do something that we're going to carry with us for the rest of our lives.
Ridley, you know, it's clear stars love working with you. You get these incredible cast and things. What is it that you look for in putting a cast together now?
You know, I think the world I came out of in a funny kind of way. I did a very, very high level of advertising for 25 years, such as Steve Jobs announcing his first computer, things like that. So, but coming in that way, because through advertising, I was made to think of you have to be successful in advertising, you've got to be the master of everything. And so you've got to be very aware of clothing, makeup, beauty, every goddamn thing. And one thing is for sure, from advertising right through to films and then big films, on the morning, you don't quite know what's going to happen. And that is key. By not knowing quite what's going to happen, that's better because the adrenaline's flowing and you can rehearse things to death. And I learned that very early on. Don't over-rehearse. Turn them loose, let them fly. But to do that, I've got to have the best drivers.
Well, you know, Gaga, speaking of not rehearsing or something, I understand this film came in 2 weeks under schedule. Usually the problems are they're going over schedule and all of that. So as an actor on that, with that kind of schedule, are you keeping up with that? Are you just going with the flow, or what is it?
You know, it is such a privilege to be in this film and to be in the company of such incredible actors like Jared today and with a director like Ridley. And, you know, I knew that I was going to get approximately 3 to 4 takes before for every scene. So I was prepared, and I had the script marked up like a nun's Bible in the 1700s. So I was ready to go at any moment for any part in the script at any time. We actually completely pitched to Rid and then collaborated with Ridley very heavily on the hair and the makeup as well in a very scientific and precise way that would match both her real life as well as what needed to happen in these scenes. So if we were shooting one day and then they said we're going to add the scene 47 and scene 48 to the end of the day, I was ready. We were ready. The team was ready to go, and I was ready because I had, like Jared said, you memorize the DNA of the character. For myself, I would almost say, I say this a lot, I'm probably repeating myself, but for me, it's about calibrating my nervous system to the nervous system of the character. Because if I can calibrate my nervous system, I know exactly when she's in hyperarousal or when she's in hypoarousal, and what is the nature of the animal inside of her at any given moment. So having all of that in my body and being able to trust that calibration allowed me to be ready to do scenes at any given moment. And I love Ridley's momentum. He's passionate and he's generous and he's generative, and there's so much to feed off of. And I would prefer now finishing 2 weeks early. While some people might think, oh, that's nice, you finished early, you get some time off, it actually means that you shoot more scenes in one day. So for us, it could be terrifying, but I found it exhilarating. I found it exhilarating to work this way because I never knew what he was going to throw at me. And you know what? I'll tell you, I think one of the greatest things I learned filming with Ridley was that I was my best when I was tired. I know this sounds maybe crazy, but when I hadn't slept for weeks and I showed up, you can't possibly overthink a scene or overthink a moment when you haven't slept, because you just have to be right there. And he's right there with you, and he's with everyone when you're shooting, meaning that he's capturing every actor at the same time. And I have to say, it was such an honor to work with actors like Jared, with actors like Al, with Adam. Every day, Adam was an absolute darling. Salma Hayek was incredible, and to be recognized by actors in this space it's inconceivable to me as a young woman that wanted to be an actress so badly and studied Stanislavski method and sense memory for years. But so when you have that stuff, when you're prepared, you can go into your toolbox and you can use all the tools that you need to be ready, so that just in case they want to shoot another scene, you can be ready for Ridley. And you know what? For what it's worth, it feels really good to be ready for him, because he's ready for you. And if he can be ready for me, I can be ready for him.
Ridley, we only have a minute left, but I have to ask you, your style, you use multiple cameras here to capture it. That's a style you like, and that moves it along too, I guess.
I'll show you something. What I'm doing already, I've done it now, but I've added a new scene at the beginning of the new film, which is fundamentally the guillotining of the Queen of France. So I work that way.
Aha.
And that's what I do. You work it out. So when you work it out, it's like it's filming on paper. So the storyboard of the next one is this thick, because you go through everything. And so in a funny kind of way, I'm exorcising what I hope for in the overall performance of each scene with all its characters. So I'm kind of ready when I get there. And if I have made the right choices of actors, I needn't do much except have a good time. I can do the whole thing in pretty fast time. But the most important thing, and what you do by doing that, it's a bit like doing a rehearsal for me before I get there, because I'm rehearsing on paper. By rehearsing on paper, I'm thinking about the options. So when I turn up and say Lady Gaga's got an idea that I think, oh, that's better than I thought, I'll go with that. But or I'll say I've got this, and they'll go, well, okay, that's good. So there's an exchange of ideas. right up to the moment we're going to meet at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning.
Wow. It's very cool. Well, this is amazing insight into the making of a movie in general here, but specifically House of Gucci. And congratulations on all the awards, all the attention, all the box office, and keep it going. And can't wait to see your next one, which I know you're going off to shoot, Ridley, in France
Yep.
shortly. So thank you, Ridley Scott, Lady Gaga, Jared Leto. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Okay,
Thank
guys.
you
Hugs
so
and
much,
kisses.
Pete. Hugs
you
and
guys.
kisses, Rid. I love you. Bye.
Bye, guys.